So, all right, and we are on air. I've officially actually named the show Paleo Bytes. So, after the basic concept that a lot of times theists want to debate atheists and they want them to bite on the arguments. The only thing is this week I have an atheist on. So, um, Poppy Doubts is the gentleman that if you watched the Matt Dillahunty versus Cy 10 Bruggencate debate, he brought up a argument about the mustard seed actually not being the smallest seed in existence. So, and I'll let him explain that here in just a moment, what he meant by all of that. But a little bit about the show. This is a kind of a informal interview type style. I'll be asking him questions, and then Poppy will be allowed to ask me questions. We'll be calling him Ben for the show. And I just disobeyed one of my own rules. I had the YouTube video open in the background.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, I'll be asking questions to you, Ben, and then you'll be able to ask me questions or test questions if you like, our co-host down there. And then after we've done that, we'll open it up to the audience questions. At most, I'll be putting this show up for 2 hours. The length of it will be 2 hours. So, and that's that. So,
Okay.
Ben, if you would start off by explaining the argument that you had at the Matt Dillahunty debate, please, so that people know, because I think Cy was rather rude in cutting you off.
Well, as I said, there's two parts in the New Testament where it's got Jesus talking about, well, actually, it's more than two parts, but two parts specifically, one in like Matthew and another one in Mark, where Jesus specifically calls the mustard seed the smallest in all the world, the least, depending on which Greek you actually look at. But still, all these arguments that they come up with saying, well, it just meant this, just meant that, are all bullcrap. Plain and simple. I was like, you look at a deity that's going to know the language is going to die. People are going to learn about other seeds around the world. You would think, they could have had something a little better wording there, I should say. So, I mean, that just throws complete doubt, in the, what is it, verbal plenary inspiration is what they call it, for a, direct literal word of God. That's, anyway, what was it, the couple of things people tried to bring up, through the comments and their own videos was, well, no, they didn't know about, the poppy seeds and stuff like that, and they did. One guy said it wasn't in the Mishnah, so, they really didn't have it. Well, actually, I sent you a link where they did include it in the Mishnah, the Talmud, and the Philo even had a mention of poppy, and that was, Philo of Alexandria. All in that time period. So these were Jewish people that knew about poppy seeds, which are definitively smaller. It can't be the argument, oh, they just didn't know about it. That's just what they used. They didn't. Mustard was the smallest they used. That's bullshit. Plain and simple. What was it? The whatever retard free tried to say, well, they could break apart it and, it would grow into others. And I was like, no, we have cloning now. We can do that with anything. So that argument's complete crap. It wasn't an idiom. It wasn't, specifically targeted to only the Jewish farmers in that region. Why would you say of all the world? It's like the smallest seed you use. You would understand, okay, maybe he was talking to the crowd. But no. Right. Qualifying statement of all the world.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of people are like, oh, you didn't read the whole passage. Well, yeah, you did read the whole passage, and that's the qualifying statement there.
Yeah.
All right, so on with the actual questions that I have. First of all, I did call you an atheist, but is that what you actually personally identify as?
To a number of people.
Okay.
Yeah, I've even got my atheist tattoo, but I've got plenty of alternative explanations to it.
So if I was to randomly come up to you on the street and ask you, do you attend church, what would you tell me?
No, but I'm a minister.
Okay. Where are you a minister to?
Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. I just got the certificate in the mail the other day as a Father's Day present.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, happy belated Father's Day.
Thank you.
Um, you're in the United States, but are you comfortable with telling us the general area that you're located at?
Tennessee.
Awesome. What part?
West Tennessee.
Okay, because I'm up here in that little tiny point that everybody looks at.
Yeah.
Please define what makes something a deity and what makes someone an atheist.
A
In your own words.
deity. Well, me specifically, I don't have an exact definition.
Okay.
I'm more interested in what other people's opinions are, and if there is one, it would have to have at least a high level of abilities. Not necessarily omnipotence, but pretty damn close. So,
Okay.
Like sapiens, you mean?
no, that's for a deity. Atheist is pretty much anyone who goes, I don't see any reason to believe any of these gods are out there. Pretty much.
Okay. And is an atheist different than an agnostic?
Agnostic. How's that? Agnostic. I thought it's just don't care if there is one.
Okay.
I think that's what that is.
Okay. Were you raised atheist or did you come out of a religious background? And if so, which one?
Southern Baptist.
Oh, fun.
My dad was a deacon when I was a child. His father was a deacon, and with about 10 years ago, I even thought about potentially going into the seminary to become a preacher myself, which is kind of the reason why I like Matt. Got kind of that in common.
So, oh, go ahead, Tess.
I don't know exactly what a deacon is. It's a preacher or a priest? Or?
No, it's a church elder, essentially, part of the people that conducts the business of the church, gets all that stuff organized and.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Can you tell us a little bit about your deconversion, please?
Well, there's a long time that everything I can look back and see steps all the way back to when I was a early teenager, certain things, but I tell you the final straw that broke it, what just made me realize, I was like, what, this is all junk, it's all crap. was my daughter was about 14 months old. I was sitting there changing her. I'm thinking, you know what? I love my little girl. I know she's going to run into problems, now and then. She's going to have to learn some things on her own, that are bad. But but the worst of it, the most dangerous things, I will do everything in my power to stop it. And what does the Christian God do? Nothing. You have people that I have seen, in my life, people that are just like, let me believe, come on, but nothing. If you think of an intervening God in any kind of way, He can still have your options, but could nudge you in the right direction such that you always choose.
Right.
And you don't have that. You have people by, essentially billions would be in hell, and that's the worst danger, essentially, that a heavenly father would see, was to keep you out of there, jump in the way if they had to. They say, well, Jesus was, but no, not so much. So I read one thing one time. It was like, what was it? Basically, a guy, I can't quite remember. Somebody was trying to give an analogy. It's basically, say you decided to dig a spike pit with like poison tip spears and everything in your backyard, then blindfold your kid in the backyard and not even tell them where you are, just kind of go, have one person, tell them, okay, they're by the pit, they'll have their hand out for you, and they tell you, okay, go find them. You don't know the spike pit's out there. Somebody goes, oh yeah. When you're halfway out there, you're like, there's a pit out there. If you don't find them, you're gonna fall in. You're gonna
Right.
die. And God's supposed to be the guy out there with a hand. You're sitting there trying to figure out, and you got all these voices telling you this way, that way. You look at the different denominations. Well, you need this, you need that. How do you know which voice to listen to?
Exactly.
So,
I really like that analogy. Like
you got this whole crowd screaming at you, which way to get to the guy with the handout, and all he has to do is say, I'm right here.
Right.
But, they say, well, God does say that. No, he doesn't. You go, okay, God, I'll accept this as a sign. I'll accept this as a sign. Give me a sign. Oh, the light flickers for a second. Oh, that's your sign? Really? And how often does your light flicker?
Especially if you have bad wiring.
Yeah, I'm at the end of the line here. I'm the last house on the power line that run out this way, so it does happen.
So my next question is, how do you feel about abortion and using birth control to actually prevent abortions?
Pretty much fine. I mean, even the Southern Baptists, until a number of years after Roe v. Wade, had it in their platform, is that they endorsed, abortion as a family planning means. And then you get all these people trying to say, oh, well, we're all about, pro-life because of Roe v. Wade, and that's why there's plenty enough out there you can find out it's because of universities getting their non-profit status removed for segregation. The moral right, the moral right is all about the racial prejudice, right? That's where it started out at. There's actually some articles out about that. I think even something on MSNBC come out a little while about bringing that back up.
Bringing the Roe versus Wade thing back up?
Yeah, about the laws that the right say about their whole moral reason for everything is because of abortion. The Roe v. Wade thing. No, they believed in family planning, and that was a method of it. You get into essentially the belief was, the whole spirit, breath equals spirit. You didn't have a soul until you took your first breath.
Right.
So they quote, is it
soul actually meant breath for a while there.
Yeah, soul, spirit, wind. Moving air was spirits.
Right.
I mean, you have Old Testament, God telling Moses to do a census, not counting anyone under a month of age. You even have some Jews that still follow that. It's like, That's not really a person unless they're a month old.
Mhm.
You know, but basically they take one context about one thing about the prophet of Jeremiah and say, it's supposed to be God talking to Jeremiah. He's like, I formed you in the womb, I created you. And they expand that to mean everybody. It was supposed to be God talking to Jeremiah.
Right.
Then the other one that they'll quote is about Jesus and John the Baptist were both, in the womb, and Mary meets John's mother, and like one of them jumps for joy or whatever in the womb. One, we don't know how long in pregnancy they were.
Right.
Two, if anything, you can say that God has direct control over prophets, but he doesn't say anything about, forming anybody else in the womb. If you
Right.
want to say he formed them in the womb, made them who they were, okay, he made Cain the way he was.
Yep.
Esau, all of them, he makes them all the way they are. So he made them, well, they chose that. No, you got certain, we know enough with modern psychology that, the whole nature and nurture, there's a lot to do with nature.
Yep.
Especially when you get into mental illness.
So, what is your view on death with dignity? Some call this assisted suicide.
I consider my smoking gonna be a case for my death with dignity. What was it? There was one comedian or something I remember. He said something along the lines, somebody told me, that's gonna take 10 years off your life. It was like, yeah, the adult diaper years. But that's one of my biggest fears is not being mentally capable of doing anything. If I can't do anything, if I have trouble thinking, I just feel horrid. And if I get stuck where I can't move, and I can't really think, knowing that that there's odds are nothing out there, I would still want to have that option myself.
Okay. How do you view the LGBTQ community? That's such a mouthful.
Uh, Fine. My little brother, well, he's dead almost 2 years now. He was out. And the joke was he was the last one to know because we knew when he was when he was little that he was gonna be that way. So you end up run across people that tell me, "Oh, it's a choice. It's a choice." It's like, okay, when did you decide?
Right. When did you decide to be hetero? Or in my case,
one guy
bi.
I was talking to was like, "No, it's not it's a choice." I was like, I'll grant you, some people it is a choice, and some people are just curious about it. Some people go both ways, but some people, that's who they are. They're
Right.
It's like my little brother. He tried his hardest to be straight, but we grew up in a community that was open enough to deal with him coming out when he was in his late teens. But yeah, he came out at Ole Miss. He was going to Ole Miss. He came out at Ole Miss, and he ended up getting a lot of backlash off of that. That combined with some other stuff, he ended up dropping out. Not the best place to be out.
Can't imagine. What are some misconceptions that you feel others have about atheists?
You worship the devil? I
Nice
had that
accent.
lie about 4 weeks ago from
Oh
somebody.
dear.
was like, "You're
And
going to hell." I was like, "I'll see you in Azkaban."
nice. Are there any other misconceptions that you see people having about atheists?
Well, angry isn't exactly a misconception, but no hope. I mean, we've got plenty enough to be angry about.
Right.
It's just how you show it. But like, no hope, nothing to live for. You can't do good things like that. So,
Although I have to say, baby's toast tastes really good on a barbecue.
ooh, baby back ribs. Mm.
Yes. So, what role does religion have in the world, and what role does science have in the world?
Religion. I'll go with Hitchens. Poisoning
Okay.
everything.
Which Hitchens? Because one was super theistic and one was atheist. And I'm not joking. I can't remember which one.
Christopher.
Chris.
Christopher.
No, I
Yeah.
read both their books and I can't. Sorry, I'm out of it. I'm sick. I can allowed to be like going. So well,
Yeah, I've actually got the God is Not Great book in my car.
Mm.
Whenever I end up working around this other guy. Again, I'm gonna let him borrow it. He's actually out atheist. He works for the same company. We just don't always work at the same place. So
Mm.
he's actually got a Ganesha tattoo. He's like, if any god could be real, he'd want that one.
You just got Tess to grin. She loves her little Ganesha statue.
I love my little Ganesha.
But
So, and what type of role does science have in the world? Should it be telling us our morals or just how things work?
Sam Harris recently clarified his position, and it's pretty much what I'm in line with. It can definitely tell us what we perceive as happy, and it can tell us what things produces the happy feeling and what produces sadness, and it can go for telling us what we can do and try to do as a people to make everybody happier.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any religious issues in your area going on at the moment that you'd like to speak about? Like, is there like prayer going on at your government meetings, things like that?
Try to avoid it. Oh, we used to have, I can't remember, one of those little teenage Christian, like, lock up your kid recovery centers
hmm
down the street that ended up going out of business.
Well, at least it went out of business.
Yeah, it's now a Spanish church.
Okay. When it comes to religion, what thing pisses you off the most about it?
Ooh. Well, besides that general desire for everybody to die, I
Well,
mean, like Hitchens said, it's a desire for the end of everything. The desire for this life to be over, this world to be destroyed in most cases. And that's dangerous. That's a scary thought when you think about it.
yeah. What is your favorite non-religious book? Or if you don't actually have a favorite, what type of books would you recommend others to read?
I've read mostly sci-fi, some fantasy. I was that when my daughter was born, I actually took the 3 months off for maternity leave. The wife would only took one,
Hmm.
so I ended up, getting her trained to, sleep at night only. Well, not at only, but, sleep through the night and all that.
Right.
But in the middle of all that, I read through all the Game of Thrones books.
Are those any good?
Yeah, well,
Long-winded. I generally don't care for that style.
Ah,
I
I
didn't.
was gonna say, Tess, I know you've been watching it.
I didn't finish them, but it was good for a jaunt.
But, yeah, Dune series by Frank Herbert.
Okay. What is your view on big name atheists like Dawkins, David Silverman, Matt Dillahunty, those people? Do you have a favorite? Do you have a least favorite?
Favorite. It would probably be Hitchens, honestly.
Good old Chris.
Yeah.
Anybody that if you saw them on the street and you had a chance to talk to them, you'd raise some sort of beef with them that you had?
I don't know. I've been trying to, past couple of weeks, I've been trying to listen to some Bogosian and stuff, but he just comes off as a pompous asshole. If you listen to how he talks, he's just matter of fact, I'm right kind of sounding. It's just something about him that just rubs me.
Okay.
I like his ideas, but yeah, something about him just, he's all about, well, being there talking to people and making good conversation, stuff like that. Yeah, that's good goals. But the way he says some of the things is just nails on the chalkboard to me.
Okay. All right. Tess, your turn.
What?
Did you have any questions?
No.
Okay. I guess it's back to you, Ben. Do you have questions for me?
Artistic inspirations. What are yours?
I gained a lot of my inspiration actually originally from religion, but not the, oh, I must worship the angels and God and whatnot. I actually drew a lot of demons when I first started drawing seriously. But I also take inspiration from a lot of different animes and a lot of Eastern type traditions. And here recently I've been taking inspiration from Scottish and Norse mythologies as well. So, as per individual...
I had nothing to do with that.
You had everything to do with that. As per actual individual artists that inspire me, well, Tess is one that inspires me a lot, but also some of the classicals, like Da Vinci and such. Escher is another that when I doodle, I end up coming with a lot of different repetitive designs. And there's some people online that I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but do traditional acrylic art that I really, really like. So, but that's the artistic inspiration stuff.
Yeah. Oh, kind of a question back that you asked me. The atheist kind of figure that you like the most.
There's a lot of YouTube people that I like, Thunderfoot, R and Raw, DPR. I like them. In terms of a person that I would like to just kind of hang out with and have an afternoon with, I have to agree that Christopher Hitchens would be a very interesting person to talk to for an afternoon, but I think I'd really like to sit down with David Silverman.
Well, he'll be in Memphis next year.
That's true.
At the
And maybe
PPD.
I was gonna say the PPD. Actually, there's there's a photo of me online from Bible Name Photography that has me looking like I'm doing a Japanese bowing greeting to Silverman. What was going on is we were laughing. I have an issue when I see a particular state's name of saying it really weird. I can say Georgia just fine, but if I see the name written down, it immediately comes out as Georgia.
Hmm.
So I was trying to tell him that it was okay that he said Peabody instead of Peabody. I'm disappointed that the recording isn't online though, because that's actually a really funny little tidbit from before the debate.
He did mention that in the dogma debate.
Ah,
He
yes,
mentioned
he
that.
did.
Okay.
So, any questions?
When you're trying to talk to others about, various, not specifically atheists, but, scientific or including atheists, you know, what, whose work do you draw on the most, would you say?
It kind of depends on the subject. If somebody's asking me about evolution, I pull from Richard Dawkins a lot, because he has very good explanations in his books of how evolution actually works, such as the Blind Watchmaker, The Selfish Gene, and The Greatest Show on Earth are three that I find to be very well thought out for that particular type of subject. Um, I've not done a lot of studying on morals or anything, so I don't have much to pull from except for myself. Um, if I'm talking to them just about atheism in general, I'll pull from Christopher Hitchens, Boghossian, even though you don't particularly like him all that much.
Well, I like
Um,
his ideas. It's just something about him and the way he comes off is just
mm,
him seeming like I'm right, don't even bother checking in on it kind of feeling.
right.
Uh, was it a while back ago? He was on a dogma debate or whatnot, and David was trying to
Mm,
tell him, "Hey, you need to classify yourself as an atheist." Well, I don't know about that. It's like, no,
right.
dude, seriously, you need to because that's part of us, getting our recognition. Well, I don't know
Hmm.
about that.
Yeah, I remember the argument. Um, if I'm talking specifically about paleontology, which obvious with my name that I quite like that, I actually pull from a couple of different research papers that a professor of mine wrote. So, and I mean, unfortunately, they're not widely available. You actually have to like log in and look for them. But Blaine Schubert is his name, and he's one of the leading voice researchers when it comes to Arctodus simus, which is the giant short-faced bear of the Ice Age. This bear has such a big head, to give you an idea. I can fit my entire fist inside of its nasal cavity. It stood 12 foot tall on its back legs when it stood up. But, so
Bad
he
visual.
ended up,
Bad visual.
huh? You can make a whole bed out of that fur, though. Um,
Make a whole anime
so
out
yeah.
of it.
Yes. But so yeah, I'll if I have questions about like Ice Age mammals and whatnot, I go to him instead of trying to look up the stuff on my own, just because it's a direct resource and I know him personally, so it's easy. And if he doesn't know the answer, he knows where I can find an actual reliable answer without going to Google and getting 50 creationist websites before I ever get to the first scientific one.
Yeah, there's a guy that uh, I've been working near all around the past 2 weeks. He had no understanding of evolution. This guy's late 50s. I've been trying to explain some of the stuff to him. I've got a decent knowledge of a lot of stuff. And that's one thing I've really been focusing on past 2 years is just learning a little bit about every field and working my way through the different fields of science and stuff. Then go back and learn a little more through each one. Then go back and learn a little bit more, and so on.
Right.
I pulled up all kinds of stuff. I'll pull up real quick. On my phone. I was like, here's a picture. Here's bat wing. Here's human hand. Here's a cat leg. Here's
Yep.
a dolphin flipper.
Fun one to do is the pesiodactyl horses, where normally, I think that's how you're supposed to say it, normally the individual finger bones and radiant ulnus in a horse have actually fused together to form one long bone and then the singular toe, whereas that one, basically it's a throwback. They have 3 hooves, but the 2 extra ones don't hit the ground. But you can actually see where the joints split off and everything, and you can still see the individual joints where the hands would be.
Yeah,
That's an
I've
interesting
talked
one to add
with
to
them
that.
a good bit. I was like, talking about, there's a reason why anytime, stuff like intelligent design or any form of creationism goes to the court, that it always loses. I was like, it's not because of, trying to keep religion out, although that's partly it. It's just not true. Plain and simple.
Right.
Another one I like to show is you got the different fossil records of the nasal cavities moving on dolphins and through the fossil records to get the the blowhole.
That is interesting. Tapirs as well are interesting because you can actually watch how their little remedial trunk has come into existence through the nasal cavity.
Of course, another one I like to bring up is the Archaeopteryx.
Oh yes! That is not a dinosaur, and neither is it a bird. Or in some cases,
bird like
only
dinosaur, dinosaur like bird.
Yeah. I think it depends on who you ask. And then, of course, other people say, well, there's no such thing as a transitional fossil. Despite you showing them a transitional. If you give me just a second. Speaking of nasal cavities, I have a sinus issue today.
Uh-oh.
So, other questions? Other subjects you'd like to touch on?
Favorite type of movies?
I get in trouble for this. One of my favorite movies is Jurassic Park.
I saw
the reason.
That was one of my first actual dates. Was seeing it like a second run theater.
I was unfortunately too young for my parents' liking to see the movie when it came out, but I somehow ended up with the original Nintendo video game of it, despite the game actually being rated teen. So I don't know how that happened. But my parents.
That reminds me. I remember one time my dad being, Southern Baptist deacon, we were watching some PG movie. I was about 9 at the time. And they said, God damn. And for like a year or so, we were stuck to only being able to watch G movies. And of course, no Disney.
Explain that one.
Just part of the Southern Baptist Disney is the devil kind of things.
There's no further explanation to that, because
it's
because I haven't actually heard that before.
I mean, I've heard Disney is capitalistic and rah 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 formulaic, blah, 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 but I've only heard it criticized from stealing our money and artistically dumb perspectives. I haven't heard it from a religious perspective.
don't
It,
know the exact thing behind it, but I know that was part of the thing.
was it the sex and the penises?
Oh,
The,
you mean like the Little Mermaid cover?
That was later. This was actually before then. The
oh,
only
Huh.
time we actually had Disney is when I was a little. I won a coloring contest and actually made an appearance on like they locally shot an episode of the Mickey Mouse Club. I got on that and we got free Disney for like 3 months.
Huh. So do you have any idea precisely what it was that they don't like about Disney, or is it just
It was
this
just
random?
I don't know what it was. I never actually bothered looking it up.
Okay. Any other strange tidbits from your childhood that you can remember that you were just like, this is weird and related to the religious aspect?
Oh, my older brother had a lot of first edition D&D stuff. So of course, in the 80s, the anti D&D stuff kicked up. That all got burned while he was forced to watch.
Hmm. That's worth a good amount of money now, too. Jeez.
Yeah. Fortunately,
That
my
sucks.
dad's calmed down a bit, and
Well, that's
you've
good.
seen my Facebook stuff. I actually
Mhm.
talked to him the day before Father's Day. Tried to record some of the stuff, but my phone would only try to like record 5 minutes at a time, so it didn't do any good.
Oh
But I
well.
was like, I talked with him a little bit, and I found out some of his views I did not suspect he had. He's under the idea that we are a Christian nation. I was like, oh, I would have, I just about face palmed.
I don't blame you for that one.
But he went to school in deep rural Mississippi.
Oh my.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah, I
whole
said his dad
segregation
was
and
a deacon.
everything.
His dad would actually preach when the preacher couldn't make it.
Oh wow.
So,
So yeah, your family was very much steeped in religion. Then it sounds like.
well, about was it my teens, or preteens, my dad stopped going to church. Yeah, he's still pretty well religious, but he stopped going. We ended up, the kids, we ended up deciding to go to this one church. And I stayed there for a number of years until I got pissed off at the hypocrisy amongst all the teenagers and stuff and stopped going myself.
Right.
Yeah. I always took it as, you know, there's a few things that Jesus was always getting pissed off about. One was hypocrisy. So I felt it was okay to be pissed off about that.
Yeah. The money changers in the temple and such.
Yeah. ATM in a church right next to the sanctuary. Yeah, you're going to piss me off. But it was just things like that. But I still kept up for a while. Yeah, I got towards the late teens. I stopped really paying that much attention to stuff. What was it? My junior high, I was took art, you know, at the art school in the area. The art high school, kind of like you had a creative and performing arts school
Hmm.
for the city, and that was where I was at. I was actually in art there. So anyway, a
Nice.
number of us, instead of school spirit day would come up, we would wear all black. This was actually before the whole. This was like late '80s. Oh, was that 90? Yeah, right there at 90 to 93 was when I was in. 89 to 93 is when I was in like junior high or somewhere around there. Anyway, So it got to a point where pretty much we didn't know which Friday was a spirit day and whatnot, so I ended up starting to wear all black every Friday. Just because. So I remember the first time I actually heard the term goth. I was junior in high school, and this girl had moved from Florida. She's like, "You're a goth." I'm like, "What's that?" uh, her and I ended up boyfriend and girlfriend for a number of months, but we ended up breaking up. She ended up going back to an old boyfriend of hers. She always had a thing about bad boys, and I just was a nice boy that people would look at and would think I was a bad boy, kind
Right.
of deal. So she always wanted to try to start fights, and I just want to do it. I was like, nope, not gonna argue.
I don't have my lightsaber yet.
Your
Right.
lightsaber.
I meant like you.
Oh, I've got one. Well, I've actually made two for myself, one for the wife.
That works.
Hmm.
Um, so we have a question from Facebook, and this person is asking, or that I believe in a designer or architect, if you will, but I do not believe in a personal god. Does that make me a deist?
Uh, if you're saying the designer originally kicked everything off, he didn't have any hands afterwards, but it was all pre-planned and put every variable into set, and hit play essentially. That would be more of a deist type, but you're, I, but why say there's anything there at all? I mean, it could be some kid dropped his lab experiment in an alternate universe. You don't know. I mean,
That's true.
why make shit up? Plain and simple. I
Well,
mean, that's the job of apologists, is just to make crap up. Yeah, that's one of the things I realized after I stopped believing is, you know, these apologists is just basically making crap up.
well,
Yeah.
I got to where I knew a lot of it, and I was able to even formulate my own. But then after I stopped, I was like, people are just making crap up, and they say it's revealed to them by God. Yeah, I call it making shit up, plain and simple.
Okay.
the,
Tess, you had something?
yeah, I have a slightly more tempered. Um, Thank you for asking that question.
Of course.
The reason that a lot of atheists have a beef with um, this particular view that you've adopted currently is that so yes, we don't know what's out there, but we're assigning something that already has a set. Uh, is stigma the wrong word?
Stigmata.
Well, I mean, I was trying to use a word that wasn't religious, but stigma pretty much covers it. So you're
Yeah.
assigning something that is knowable, and that there's. I'm trying to say something. My brain's not working very well. Um, if if you can go look up Matt Dillahunty, he explains this a lot more eloquently than I can right now. But you're
You're trying to say that you know something when there's no way to prove that you know it, let alone give any indication that it is true,
well, but
essentially. Right?
no, well, I mean but it's yes, but it's not just that. It's that you're not just giving it a random name. You're giving it a name that's very well defined in society, and everyone knows what what a god is, what this particular god is. So you just give. I don't know. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have spoken up. Go look up Matt Dillahunty, please. He
You
has
know,
it.
That's
we're
okay.
pattern-seeking animals, plain and simple. That's one of our greatest advantages is our ability to see patterns and potentially even create patterns where there doesn't exist. That's where a lot of creativity comes from. But if you're interested in some of the research of what's called patternicity, Michael Shermer's got some videos that you may want to look that explains on how hyperactive our pattern seeking is and talks about agency detection. One of the things he gets off into is we're kind of like, natural selected to see things when there aren't things there. You have the plains in the Africa. You got a rustle of the grass, as he said. You know,
But
if
you
it's a predator, it's not going to wait for you to, look around for clues and figure out, okay, it's a predator. It's going to kill you by then. But if you automatically assume that there's something there and there's something out there that may cause you harm, you're going to react accordingly, and you're going to survive, plain and simple.
Right.
Our curiosity was dimmed a little bit by natural selection.
Right, but
Automatically assign it.
But
Cass, you had something to say?
the argument that I'm trying to, or the thing that I'm trying to bring to mindfulness is completely different than that. But I can't explain it. My brain's fried. Anyway, thanks for asking. Sorry. I told you shouldn't have had me on because I'm like,
It's okay. This person has more of a statement than an actual question. And I believe English is not their first language based upon the grammar here. But whole constitution is based on some religion.
What was it?
Whole constitution is based on some religion. That's the statement that came in.
No.
There, in the United States Constitution, the word God or Jesus or Allah or Buddha, none of that appears once. I mean, how many of the Ten Commandments are laws that are not universally accepted by pretty much everybody in the world? We know murder, thievery, and perjury are all universally accepted in this world. So those three commandments out of the 10, you can say, aren't there. Okay, you got adultery, not exactly illegal. Coveting, definitely not illegal because that's a thought crime. Primacy of God, that's not there. No other gods, that's not there. You don't have this in there. Honor your mother and father, that's not specifically in there as a law anywhere. I mean, talk about love thy neighbor. That's not exactly in there. That's what laws are in there to keep you from hurting your neighbor, but it doesn't say love your neighbor. So to say it's anywhere created on a religion is crap, basically. I mean, it was stylized off of the Roman Republic, pre-emperor. I mean, that's what they knew of, and that's what they designed it kind of as. To say otherwise is not telling the whole truth.
Right. You have anything to say on that, Tess?
I'm trying to draw Poppy a Disney puppy because he never had any Disney when he was growing up, but I'm not good at Disney.
I need to go AFK just a minute. I'll be right back.
Okay.
I was just gonna say that if you choose to interact, I suppose please give us more than a statement like that. If you're talking about the U.S. Constitution, no, as he put it, it's not religious. If you're talking about the founding fathers, there's debate on that, but more information would be pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I can't say anything about any other countries set of rules because I know nothing about that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know much about the other country's stuff, but I mean, I've got a little tiny copy of the Constitution right here, and I mean, the one of the things we have is that the government shall not pass any laws respecting an establishment of religion. Let's see, where
Well,
is this at?
so there's that. So please, uh, if you're that passionate about it, person on Facebook whom I don't know because I don't have Facebook, I'm sorry. Right. Anyway, I'm like rambling. I'm sorry. If you're that passionate about it and you feel you want to make such statements, please research it and then we can.
Right. One
Uh,
thing that regarding the Constitution and religion that always gets me is people are like, well, this is the oath that the president is supposed to take, but the actual oath written in our Constitution, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. That's the whole thing. There
See,
is no "so help me God" in there.
and here's the thing. I think all politicians are snollygosterers, and I don't have any stomach for politics, so I'm never going to be any help with this matter because this is like it automatically makes me want to throw things. And my puppy for coffee is not coming out well. It's got 1,000 yards in there.
So, I feel like this person is presuming to put words in our mouths as atheists, but it is a question, but it feels like he's stating that this is what we believe in a way. Dear atheist, I respect your point of view about non-existence of God, but do you believe in the following: that we should love our fellow human beings, that we should do to others what we expect others to do unto you, that good deeds done to others come back to you, that we should preserve nature for our coming generations, that everyone has a right to his life and freedom of his actions provided that they do not impinge on others' similar rights. If that be so, it does not matter whether you believe in God or not, because you are following the essence of his teachings. Just a point to ponder. Basically, they're saying that our morals come from religion, even if we don't acknowledge that.
I'm back, by the way. I heard most of that, and
Right.
I'm going to disagree with treating others as you want to be treated, because you have some people out there that are sadists, so you want them just beating the crap out of other people. I mean, think about that. You got somebody that likes to be beat up, or whipped, or anything like that. You want them running around whipping you? No.
Well, that's a masochist, but
Right, yeah, that is masochist.
Marquis de Sade was not a masochist.
Well, no. You want a sadist acting as a masochist. That's what you'd end up with if you want a,
I see what you're saying. Treat others how you want to be treated.
You don't want that. You're going to have people, I mean, there's certain things that, some people don't want to be told the truth. I want to be told the truth, no matter what, no matter how hard it hurts. But some people want that white lie. When I met my wife, I told her, I was like, I'm an asshole, plain and simple. I'm going to tell you the truth straight up. You want to know if this looks good on you, this looks bad on you, I'm going to tell you. You like this dress? No. Why? I'll explain it. You end up with, the stereotypical, I'm not saying y'all are like that, but, the stereotypical female, it's like, they'll get all upset about that. You end up with problems in society with, treating others as you want to be treated. You need to treat others as they would like to be treated, not as you would want to be treated. as far as preserving the earth for future generations, it depends on which God you're talking about. If you talk about the Christian God, then you got to talk about which version of Christianity. There's a number of these idiots that say we need to bring the end of the world so Jesus comes. you know, uh, but I did not catch all of what was said, so if you want to
Oh.
repeat any of that or put your own in.
I'll go ahead and go back to it in just a second as to what the first part was, but Tess, I think you had a statement regarding it.
Yeah, I'm kind of chomping at the bit here. I have two statements. One in regards to Poppy. I love honesty, and I've told people, because I draw too, I don't want you to kiss my butt. Critique me. Help me grow. Get me stronger. But I respect honesty with tact. And so being an asshole isn't always the effective way. To the guy who wrote on Facebook, what you essentially said in the last part of your comment was that you and I, or atheists and Christians, share some of the same values. Like, okay, awesome. I like uh, I like that, and I don't think they necessarily come from the Christian God. I mean, Hindus also share the same values, Buddhists, whatever. There are certain values that you noted that we both have that so many people have. It doesn't come from God or your Christian God.
Right.
Well,
Anything
you
else
can
for
go
that,
back
Tess?
to the evolutionary benefits of helping other people out.
Right.
It doesn't always come back to you, but it comes with an understanding that the better the people are, or better off people are around you, the better off you're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
That's not karma. That's just good foresight to know that. If you
Right.
help out other people, doesn't mean they will help you out, but the chance of them helping you out is greater.
Right.
You know,
I think you heard most of it. The only thing before we should do to others what we want them to do to us. The only statement before that was we should love our fellow human beings.
love's a subjective thing. It depends on what you mean by love. I mean, I accept people. I'm caring for people, even people that I don't like. But to call it love, I wouldn't.
There are some human beings that I really respect and admire, and there are some that I abhor. So I agree with Poppy. I mean, I'll love some people and I won't love some people.
That's not going to stop me from helping them out if they need help. But like I said, some people I just don't like to be around, and it may not be their fault, really, if you get down to, mental stuff,
Right.
and, their upbringing. It may not.
This one's a little bit long, but if there is no God, that means Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad were lying. Why should they have lied? What purpose would that serve?
Who
I
says
think
they
God is.
existed?
I think God is something so mind-blowing, ecstatic, maybe similar to Plato's cave parabole. We live in the shadow of real life and thinking our miserable life as all in all. I think atheists just do not understand what Jesus, Krishna, Muhammad were speaking about. And because they do not experience God, they conclude there is no God. Like somebody who does not know mathematics is wondering what the teacher speaks about.
Since
There.
I'm a dork.
I'll let you both touch on this, and I'll be back in a second.
Wait. Before you both touch on it, will you do your screen share magical thingy so that I can actually see the comment? Because
I read it verbatim. The grammatical errors are there.
no, yeah, but my brain is not Oh, Miss Poppy. Thank you, because now I can like look back at it and formulate my answer as poppycocks, I guess.
Okay.
Poppycock. There we go.
Uh,
All right,
it's
there you
not
go,
staying
guys.
up there. There we go.
Right.
If you actually click my picture down in the corner, you'll actually see the screen share.
Woohoo.
That way you can read it better.
Well, do you want to respond first, or should I copy?
You can go.
Okay. I'm going to be kind of cynical about this. If there is no God, that means Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad were lying. Why should they have lied? Well, Buddha didn't actually say there was a God. Um, there are plenty of reasons to lie.
The
If
noble lie.
what?
The noble lie. It's the good white lie to tell people to do good things.
Well, or you can be sort of a jerk and say, oh, if I tell someone that I have the secret of you know magical getting in with my God, then I can charge a fee and they'll pay me, or I can have control over them. Uh, kind of like Jim Jones. And I'm
Some of
not,
these people are crazy and believe what they say.
well, I'm not. I'm not trying to equate Jesus, Buddha, and Muhammad to Jim Jones. I'm just saying that there are plenty uh, of reasons that an unscrupulous fellow would choose to lie about something, a matter that's so incredibly big and important to a lot of different people.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. And add that on top of historical manipulation as to what happened, if anything ever did happen, by people throughout centuries. You change what was originally written, if you even have an original, to make it sound greater and more grand than what it was. I A lot of people talk about, in the Christian world about, well, that's out of context. That's out of context. Anytime you mention something bad, and you go, have you actually studied the context? Have you actually looked at some of the Greek?
and well, and churches. Whoop, I don't know. I don't know where the thing went. Oh, she's doing
Oh,
something. Uh,
sorry. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. I forgot that it was doing that.
Well, where did?
There.
Okay.
It's back.
Plato's cave parable. I freaking love Diogenes. I know basically nothing about Plato, so if you want to comment again and inform me, I'd appreciate that. Um,
I understand the Plato's cave parable. In fact, in a way, we do live in a shadow of reality. I think Lawrence Krauss even talks about what we see in this world is not what's all there. The
oh,
universe is so much dark matter, dark energy, and the matter that we actually can see and directly test for is only about 23% of all matter.
well, the Buddhists have a like one of the one of the thoughts on Buddhism is that like our minds are our perceptions. Or our perceptions come from our minds. We don't really see reality.
So you're a brain in a vat then.
I am no brain. I am no brain at all. I'm sorry.
Nice! Nice answer.
I'm I'm half I'm half like I'm half baked right now. Not baked.
For all we know, our consciousness is no more than a desktop on a computer.
Uh,
You
so
know, the screen that we're looking at is can be no more than what our conscience is.
so I
We
don't.
we could just be riding along thinking we're driving.
Mm.
But we're
Tess?
on this plane, and we need to like deal with stuff on this plane. I don't actually know what Plato's cave parable is. I will look that up because I can't tell you what it is.
Uh, I can give you a short rundown. It's talking about you got, if we're nothing but, people kind of essentially chained in a cave, looking against the wall, and the light of the outside world is out there, and all we see is nothing but shadows. We can't really make out what's really in the world.
Thank you. Thanks for explaining.
So it's like the frog in the bottom of the well looking up and he sees the bird and the moon, but he doesn't see anything else.
Well,
And
it's not even that. It's you have no definitive way. Kind of like as we see a ruler, right? Well, if you got a flame or a sun moving around, and you've got the ruler suspended behind you, and that shadow is casting, its shape is changing
I
throughout time. You don't know it has a definitive shape, even.
Okay.
I understand the theory now. That last part, they conclude there is no God, like someone who does not know mathematics is wondering what the teacher speaks about. I'm not sure whether you're saying that nobody can know God, or that we as atheists haven't done our research on the actual texts themselves. And for the second, for the latter, that we haven't done our research on the actual text themselves, that's what I'm trying to do.
Statistically, we know more than the believer.
Yeah.
But if we can't know God, if the human condition is to not be able to know God, then that means that a theist can't know God either. So I'm not really sure what you're
I'm
asking.
ecstatic about the universe. I can look up at the stars and be blown away. But it doesn't mean I have to say that there's an unknowable thing out there. I mean, we know a lot about it. In fact, the whole thing, knowing how a rainbow forms, does that take away from the mystery? No, it makes it even greater, in my opinion.
Mm.
But just to chalk it up to a god kind of dulls it. Just God made it because he was making a promise he wasn't going to flood the world again.
Right.
No, that's not as satisfying as the understanding how the light bends and separates in every water droplet and just spreads it across, and your eyes pick up that EM spectrum, and understanding how the eye evolved as a hunter-prey mechanism, all that plays into the effect there, and that makes it even greater, in my opinion, and go, oh, Jesus.
And Jesus. Oh, I completely. Well, I should not be on here when I'm sick. I'm still not sure what the person was actually trying to say. So
I very wholly, thoroughly believed in the whole Jesus bit.
I did as
For
well.
the longest time. It slowly decayed from literal interpretation to more and more figurative and all that. And I got to a point where I decided, you know what? I can't make heads or tails between any of these people telling me what to think. Okay, let's take what Paul said: test all things and hold true. Hold to that which is true or good or righteous, depending on which translation you get. But that's the general understanding. Test everything and keep with the truth. Well, you look at any of these religions, you can't get any definitive answer. You can't get any figurative answer outside of why is it that way? Well, I feel it. Well, why do you feel it? Well, God makes me feel it. Okay, that same God made the Inquisitors feel that they were right. That same God made, a large portion of the Nazis feel that they were right in doing God's bidding, according to a plan laid out by Martin Luther on the extermination of the Jews.
Mm.
You know, these people all believed that they were doing God's work off of a feeling. If you could end off the rails that bad, what says your interpretation is right? Just because you feel that God told you.
Yeah, it's the thing of if God told you to kill your child, would you? I actually had a couple people answer yes around me.
No, I wouldn't. That's what broke me. You know, essentially me talking earlier. You know, looking at my daughter. You
Right.
know, I would protect her. And I was like, if this God is gonna do crap like that, I can't worship him. You know, part of the thing is, you know, I always thought of him as a father figure until I became a father and realized he is the worst father you could hope for.
Yeah.
uh, you get a parable with Jesus. He's talking about, you know, as we as sinful people understand as, you know, parents to our children, when they ask for bread, we do not give them a stone. And he says, you know, they ask for a fish, we don't give them a serpent or a snake. And
Right.
you look at that and you go, yeah, okay, we understand it. We're supposed to be as sinful people. Then he goes on to say, you know, if we are that understanding and that right in our decisions, imagine how much greater God is. And I took that to heart for the longest time. But there's a contradiction in that, let alone that that's not what happens in the real world. You look back at the
Right.
Old Testament, one of my favorite contradictions, I would say, is the Israelites leaving out of Egypt. They've been on manna for a while, and you would suspect, you know, these people, upon experiencing all these miracles from God, that, you know, maybe they would be kind when talking to Moses and asking stuff from God. You know, they've
Hmm.
witnessed his wrath, his power upon the Egyptian armies and the Egyptian people. And, you
Right.
know, he's providing them manna. You know, it says that they grew unruly and, you know, were begging for different foods. You know, and
Right.
so God sent out snakes and killed off, you know, a couple of thousand.
Yeah.
That's contradictory to what Jesus just said,
Yeah.
completely. You know, you know, understanding that the Israelites would go, "Hey, God, you know, this manna stuff's all right. No, you know, it fills us, it keeps us alive. But could we get some fish or something too? You know, just spice it up a little bit now and then." You don't think that they would just immediately jump in demanding it after witnessing these supposed miracles. No, the
Right.
people in the stories of the Bible are just stupid enough to make the stuff happen. You know, like the miracle of the loaves.
Hmm.
You know, that apostle. There's actually two of them. Now, I understand the exegetal stuff about it. You know, the first one is the miracle they ended up with like 12 baskets of bread and fish afterwards. You know,
Right.
originally, you know, at the first one, it was like, how are we going to feed all these people? And it was like, just feed them. And they ended up with 12 baskets. That's representative of the 12 tribes of Egypt. I mean,
Right.
not Egypt, but Israel.
Israel. Yeah.
Then the second miracle, they ended up with seven, which is supposed to be the seven nations or seven levels of heaven, you know, the different things.
Right. Yeah. The different symbology behind the number seven. I
Yeah.
know somebody who their email address actually has three sevens splitting up their name, and she happens to adore just the 777 number. Um,
Oh, I've got
and
777 on a couple of my email accounts. But
right.
but before the second miracle with where they ended up with seven baskets, the same apostles who witnessed the first one go, "Well, how are we going to feed all these people? Did they forget?" I mean, they supposedly witnessed another one and then go, "How are we going to
How are we
feed them?"
supposed to do this? Um, a
Like I
note
said,
about
the
oh,
characters in the stories are just stupid enough to make the plot happen.
right. A note about manna that I always found interesting. When I was a kid, we actually raised sheep. And when you have a pregnant ewe who's given birth or is about to give birth, you give her a product called manna. And it's a sweetened type of bread that somehow or another prevents septicemia, which is a toxin in the blood that will kill the mother.
Septicemia is just a bacterial infection of the blood that gets out of hand.
Right.
Just a bacterial infection of the blood. You know.
Sorry, my mother's a nurse, so.
No, and I'm being a
That's
pedantic.
fine. Tess is being a pedantic dick again.
I am nothing but a pedantic dick, my dear.
So, of course, whenever I would hear that story of, the manna coming down from heaven, the only thing I'm picturing are these little tiny flakes of bread that we'd give to the sheep. I'm like, how is that feeding everyone?
You know what manna means?
No, actually, I don't.
What is it?
Flakes of bread sounds like Eucharist.
What is it?
I don't know.
Food from
No,
heaven, I think?
that's pretty much what it translates to.
Oh.
What's that, or what is it? That's what manna translates to.
That's like the infuriating thing of what is your name? Who? No, what is your name?
I am who I am.
Yeah.
But, yeah, we can get into all the different names that God uses. Yeah. In the Old Testament.
Yeah, which is why we have all the different religions, partially, I think.
Well, I was talking. Well, we were talking about that. I think you were still there at the after the debate. We're talking about the different names that are in the Old Testament, especially if you get back in the earlier versions of it. You can see more diversification between the different names. El Elyon, Elohim, El Shaddai, Yahweh, and all that. You end up with all these different God names where they can pretty much consolidate it and said, oh, it's just one God, instead of all these different gods.
Right.
Are there any more interesting Facebook comments or any comments whatsoever?
Yeah. Actually, considering that man is just an animal, is cannibalism okay?
Wait. You're comparing a toadstool and a bar stool. Yes, okay, so yes, we are animals, but how do you factor in cannibalism? How do you make that jump?
If it comes to absolute survival, then yes, but there are negative effects to cannibalism. Mad cow disease is actually essentially caused by feeding cows. Essentially, I forget the
Sorry, Ben.
Crutchfield Yakov or whatever, or I can't remember the exact disease name, but it's kind of bad for humans to eat humans because you can end up with a version of mad cow disease.
Right. Sorry, Ben. I think Tess had a little bit more to say on that.
All right.
I was actually going to say, this is a question that makes no sense, and I will not entertain it because. No, I mean seriously, because we don't need to waste time on such. It sounds like just a baiting question designed to make us waste time.
Okay.
Yeah, well, cannibalism, the slaughter of humans just to eat them. I mean, that goes against, a society that just slaughter people for food. I mean, beyond, religious dictates that throughout most, not all, but most religious books to just slaughter people. For sport, even. But we're talking about for food. I mean, as I said earlier, if it became down to survival and somebody was already dead, then by all means, I'm not going to look down on you for, a little bit of cannibalism just to survive for a little while. But as far as, killing somebody, I mean, you're messing with somebody's life, plain and simple. And it's not a good thing to for society for people to just be killing people, let alone for food, when there's plenty to be had.
The question was baiting, and what you said reminded me of a court case from the 1800s. Well, two
Oh,
court
do tell.
cases. Yeah, so there's this one guy who, I think he was a mountain man or something, and I think it was that he was guiding people over the hills, and a freak storm happened, and not the Donner Party, but some people died, and he had to eat them. He didn't actually kill them, but he later admitted in the court that in the trial, that he ate their flesh to survive. And he came back and huddled up with a blankie in actual civilized society. So there was another guy who, I don't remember his specifics, but I do remember he was a murderer. The guy who was the cannibal shocked everyone so much that he got a harsher sentence than the guy that murdered someone.
Huh.
So, yeah. That's a purely emotional word, cannibalism.
That was poor judgment. I mean, everybody thinks black, white. It's not black, white. It's always a shade of gray. You always have to look at everything in all the circumstances. It's not good and evil. I mean, there's not really good and evil. It's favorable and unfavorable conditions, plain and simple.
So does that mean the Bible has some good in it, Nate?
I'm sorry?
So does that mean that the Bible has some good things in it?
Yeah, a serial killer can donate to charity. It doesn't mean you listen to the serial killer.
The Bible, not the serial killer.
No, I'm just giving an analogy. I mean, if you look at the body count, who's the serial killer in the book?
But I'm specifically asking you about the good things in the Bible. If you think there are any. And I'm going to go get my glasses. Oh, what are they called?
Well, you get a couple of thousand years of people putting stuff in there, you're gonna end up with some good stuff. But why dig through a pile of shit to find, a gold flake?
Unless you took the gold poop pills.
I actually showed my mom those the other day. I think you should go read Peter Boghossian's book again.
I was talking with somebody a while back. They're talking about, well, how's your daughter gonna, learn morals and, good deeds and stuff like that. And this guy was a father of 3 girls. So he understood when I said, well, she watches My Little Pony. And that's a lot better without getting into the X-rated stuff that the Bible does.
Yeah.
I'm actually... You got a point. So...
I'm working on a series of blog posts about secularism and the teachings of free thinking that they're actually doing in episodes of the newer My Little Pony shows. And there was a recent one in season 4 that actually discusses, the name of the episode is actually A Leap of Faith. And it's referring to snake oil salesmen specifically. And long story short, the person is blamed for supporting the snake oil because she doesn't speak up, because she sees the placebo effect happening on an elderly individual, and it looks like this stuff is doing something even though it's not. And then when she finally comes out, everybody's like, but then why didn't you speak up? Well, because there was that fear of it. And it's the same thing that I feel in a way that a lot of atheists have, is we see religion, we see it doing a placebo effect in a lot of people. Sure, it makes them feel better. It's all warm and fuzzy and tingly for them. But at the same time, we are so scared to come out because we don't want people to be angry at us. But then when we do finally come out, well, why were you not speaking up if you didn't support it? Because we were scared you were going to get pissed off at us?
Well, there are some people who I think actually the placebo effect does them a great amount of good. And
Right.
I told you about Roosevelt, Teddy Roosevelt, and I use that to back up my claim. But I think in most cases,
Who's to say he wouldn't have done good without it? I mean,
well,
you don't know.
Well,
we don't know, but I can go through the good effect on his life that religion had. I'm
I
not
could go
saying,
through the good effect that my religion had before going to atheist. In fact, I consider myself a better person now. And I don't attribute it to a god or anything anymore. In
mm,
fact, I'm still, because I'm an innately nice person. In general, I trying to constantly improve myself to become, better to the people around me. That doesn't mean, religion is still a hold of me, making me a good person. I think good people are often good people in spite of their religion, not because of it.
I
right.
I was only saying not good people are good people because of religion. I was saying that the placebo effect of religion does do measurable good for some people, and
Right.
who's to say that they would have ascended the heights that they did without it?
Right. An example that I think falls into what you're saying, Tess, is when my father died, my mother clung to religion, and it was the only way she could mentally get through the death of my father. If
And
she
at
didn't
that
have that religion, she would have been in such a state that she probably wouldn't have even been able to raise me as she did.
right, so I mean, you can like yes, you can speak to your mom about atheism, but that time would not have been a good time to convince her because she
No.
needed that. She is a different type of person than you. You are a different type of person than me, and she needed that at that moment.
Right.
Uh,
We have
my
another
experience.
question.
Well, let me talk a little bit about my experience with death and
Yeah,
everything.
certainly.
Uh, maybe 2 months or 3 months after I decided it was BS, my little brother died. And,
Mm.
growing up, we shared the same room, all except for the last year I lived in the house. So we lived in the same room for practically half my life and, stayed in contact with him, so he's probably the closest person to me that I've had die. This happened like 2, 3 months after. You know,
Hmm.
I, I gave up on the whole faith thing, and it's just, but I found a way through it.
But that's you. You're
Right.
you're different from me. You're different than Theodore Roosevelt. You're different from I can't even name other people. I don't know, Oliver Cromwell, John Stewart,
Well,
Colbert. Oh, I love Colbert.
yeah, I remember my grandfather's funeral. I was maybe, let's see here, I was like 10, I think. Anyway, everybody's crying. Here I am, believing, in the whole thing, he has gone to a better place thing. Everybody's crying. I turned to one of my sisters. I was like, why are y'all crying? He's in a better place, isn't he? I was like, well, why should you be upset?
Mm.
You know, looking back on it, you know, that's one of those things that should have said to me, maybe these people really knows that it might not be what they think it is, with religion, He's like, some part of them thinks maybe it isn't real, that they are not going to see him again, because when you have somebody that is in a horrible condition that passes on, you would expect them to be happy, especially the devoutly religious.
Right. I
But
think
yet
it
you,
was Quayla Soup who made no, it was Dark Matter 2525 who made a video about the concept of if Christians took the concept of you go to heaven when you die as as such a good thing, theoretically, shouldn't they just be killing themselves to end up in heaven anyway?
Oh, that reminds me, the whole uh, abortion debate and all that. Yeah, asking somebody, okay, what happens to the aborted babies? If they say, well, they go to heaven, you go, well, in that idea, shouldn't we be aborting babies? Because they're just going to
Right.
go to heaven, and your goal is to save as many souls as possible, get them to heaven. Shouldn't we just, have drive-through abortions then? If
Right.
that's what you're really trying to go for. I mean, because that's plain and simple, as
Right. And
absurd
I'm
and
not.
obscene as that is.
Yeah.
That's what that says. If you believe that, babies have a spirit, unborn children, zygotes, gametes, all that, whatever you want to call it, at conception or whenever. If you
Mhm.
believe they have a soul, and if they get aborted, that they're going to heaven, you should be all for abortion then.
Right.
I
I
mean,
believe it was the Catholic Church that used to teach that aborted fetuses or babies that
purgatory.
died before, yeah, they went to purgatory, and then all of a sudden they got rid of purgatory. So it's like, okay,
Yeah, a
so what
couple
happened
years
to all those?
back. Well,
I don't know. Um,
purgatory was all about indulgences. You pay the church, and we'll pray them
mhm,
into heaven.
yeah.
And then Martin Luther was like, yeah, yeah, fuck your indulgences. Yeah, I'm gonna nail things to the church door. Bang, bang, bang. I like history.
No, but there's a British comedian or whatever that was on a talk show. You could probably look it up and watch the video where that whole topic comes up, and she just goes off and is like, that's a factual response to what you just said. Talking about the abortion and babies going to heaven. Which people don't think through every implication of their thoughts, especially when it
Right.
comes to religious matters.
Hmm. So we do have another question that came in. Um, what would it take for you to believe in God again, or for a test, what would it take for you to believe in God?
They would know what it would take, and they would make it happen. Plain and simple. Every day that doesn't happen makes me stronger in believing as I do. Plain and simple.
What
Okay.
would it take for me to believe in a God? In incarnation of God coming down, like so I could physically see him or feel him, like I'm seeing and feeling this pen, demonstrating his powers. Maybe like I don't know, turning my book into a bowl of popcorn or something. And yeah, that sounds ridiculous, but I would need a demonstration of it. So if I got
Right.
this demonstration of Vishnu or Allah or Tetskallipoca or whatever, or Elohim, whatever, um, then I would be satisfied and I would have to admit that yes, there is a God. But that doesn't mean that I would afterwards I would like or worship the deity. I think the deity, any deity, would have a lot to answer for.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm. To answer it from my end, in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when the aliens come in to destroy the planet, they basically every single thing that can act as a screen or some sort of sound reverberation mechanic interacts with everybody on the planet at once in a language they understand, and everybody knows what's going on right then and there. If that happens, I, at the very minimum, say, shit, our planet's going to be destroyed here in just a second. Um, but would I necessarily consider that to be God? I have to fall back on the statement that any technology that is sufficiently advanced enough will be considered magic. So,
Indistinguishable
yeah,
from.
indistinguishable from magic. Um, I'd still probably hold out a little bit to say I don't know if this is actually God. It's more probable that it's some sort of really highly sufficiently advanced alien that just likes to beat people down. Maybe. But that's how I viewed it anyway.
Yeah, somebody actually asked me what would I consider evidences of, that would lead to more probable thing. And I ended up with something similar. I was like, say you could knock on a tree 3 times and the holy book appeared to you, and it was a language anybody looking at it would be able to read. And upon the whole concept of the Holy Spirit, if it actually worked, would automatically infuse you with every bit of exact dogma that was dogma and doctrine exactly. Every believer would automatically understand and know everything the same way. But
Right.
that doesn't happen. That would be good evidence of, that would lead to a high probability, in my opinion, but that wouldn't guarantee that there was one. It could be, aliens sufficiently advanced enough to beam crap, to the planet and then into our heads, but I'm not going to say that I would think that, but I mean, that would be a more probable chance of evidence than beyond the current saying, well, the Holy Spirit and, we got God's word here. No, you have anything but man's word from the way it looks. You look at the other religious texts and go, how was this compiled? Well, that's definitely phony. Well, look at yours. How was it compiled? It compiled the same way. And you use that to call the others phonies. I mean,
Right.
judge your own by the standards you judge others.
Yeah.
Any more
Um,
Facebook things?
yeah, we do actually have another question, and I think this may have been from somebody who was watching my videos, but the question is, what can we do to stop child bride marriages?
Oh shoot. I've only focused on the good things in Islam, so I'm not that well read on the bad things.
Educate the women.
Well, educate everyone.
Yeah.
Educate the women.
But also provide support for people.
Yeah, it's provide support for those who have survived.
Oh.
I mean,
What?
women make up, a little over half the planet. And when you have them educated and knowing things, that's a little over half the planet that can stand up to just under half the planet. And they're not standing up for themselves because they don't know that they can stand up for themselves in most cases.
But we're not going to be educating anyone if all we say is your religion is crap and you believe in a bunch of bullcrap. We're just going to alienate people, and then the problem is just going to be still happening.
Oh, you got people over in the Middle East, not just, Muslims or any of that. You've even got Jews and stuff like that that still will even contend to the flat earth. I mean, so you say, here's a picture, they're going to automatically assume otherwise. I mean, we can't exactly tell them what to do. We can offer, a chance to educate them. Not say, not force it, but, hey, you want to come over to, our schools, we could potentially provide schooling for them. I mean, but, the strongest thing is education, in my opinion.
And people need to listen for education to be effective. You could be the smartest guy in the universe, but if you're saying it in a way that doesn't grip me at all, or that turns me away from you, then I'm not going to listen and I'm never going to know what you're saying. So it's the problem between theism and atheism is a problem of communication. If we can fix our communication and how we deal with this, then we can oh, I was going all well with those words, and then I just went.
No, I understand what you're saying, but
Awesome.
the problem I see is no matter how tactful, how politely you say something to somebody, you're gonna end up offending a number of people because the whole God is them kind of thing. I forget who it was. There's a couple of studies that when somebody is asked, okay, what do you think on a subject? The me section of the brain lights up. And then you go, okay, what does your friend Bob think about this? The others person section of the brain lights up, in the scan. So then when they're asked, what does God think about a subject? The me section lights back up. Not what another person, but the me section. People have me, their self concept so intertwined with God. That's why you end up with people with gods that happen to believe everything they believe, feel the same hatred towards the people that they feel hatred for. I mean,
you're going to be a lot more effective if you're tactful than if you're just like, rah!
some people need that snap. Some people need
Some
hard
people,
truth.
yes. Some people, yes, but we've been going on about this for I mean, I don't know, decades, millennia, the whole atheism Christian thing, and we've attacked it in the same way.
For most of the time, we've been polite, and we've been killed for it for thousands of years. And the only way we've actually gotten any headroom is people like Hitchens and stuff at putting their foot down and saying, no, we're not going to take this.
Hitchens is fine, but people like Dawkins, who are very, very intelligent, but also very acidic and inapproachable. What?
I'm not touching that one.
No,
I like Dawkins.
Dawkins is a wonderfully intelligent dude, and I am going to pick up that book when I go to the library tomorrow. I didn't get over there today, but I'm only addressing attitudes. I'm not saying Dawkins is bad or evil or
Okay.
he eats babies.
I think Arn even covered the subject as it was talking about. What was he talking about? Like movements and groups within atheism. You need somebody that can take the brunt, that will stand up and put their foot down for the people with the softer touch to be able to get in there. Because the people with a softer touch generally have the softer shell, and they're going to get beat down by all the attention. You need some firebrands out there to draw the attention, such as, you need the juggernauts, the heavy armored people up front, so that people can come in with a softer hand behind.
If you call all my beliefs, like if you just curse them out, I'm not even going to listen to anything you have to say.
Now that's just being a complete ass. But you can say, yeah, that's a silly thing, and this is why. Or, hey, how about thinking about this way? But,
right.
I mean, if you flat out and ask somebody, what do you think about this? And they give you an honest response, and you get insulted by that, that's your fault. You asked. They gave you your response.
Well, if
just as a heads up, guys, we have 9 minutes left to the show, and I do have one more question that came in.
Let's do that.
Tess. Okay, all right, Poppy, are you okay with that in dropping this current?
So what?
We've got 10 minutes left, and I was just wondering if you're okay with it because we've got one more question that came in. So do you just want to drop the current context and move on to the last question?
Yeah, go ahead. What was the question?
Woo!
It's a two-parter. Are there absolute morals? And if there are, could you list a few of them?
How is he defining absolute? Like across the globe?
Absolute.
Like, it is always 100% wrong to kill someone, which I don't think is a moral absolute, but that's an example of what
There
they mean by that.
really isn't. There's agreed upon, you might be able to agree upon an absolute, but as far as you can have your own personal absolutes, but I don't think there's a specific absolute outside of, some people do like to be unhappy. Some people do like to be happy. I mean, there's specifically, there's not exactly a moral absolute, but if you want to say anything is desirable or favorable, like I was talking about earlier, there you got favorable and unfavorable. If you want to talk about favorable conclusions, you want to be happy, generally. So you can work from there. If you say, a moral absolute is be happy, that would be the only one. I would say try to be happy. Then you can work out from there.
Okay.
There,
Tess?
sorry, there are a billion different scenarios out there. I don't think that one moral absolute covers them, but I do like Poppy's like, yes, we as individuals can have moral absolutes. I really value. Uh, but
You
no,
speaking in tongues?
Yeah. He sells seashells by the seashore. I can say that. I just can't say like, uh,
I thought I was the only one drinking.
See, I'm a teetotaler. That's the thing. Like, I've been feverish all day, and I'm kind of. But yeah,
I finished off half a bottle of mead. Anyway, go ahead with what you're saying.
No, I agree with you on this one.
Okay, well, thank you. But yeah, I had half a bottle of mead while doing this, so.
My theoretical hat is off to you. Mead is one of my favorites.
Now this is Oliver brand. It's like $8.
Yes.
Local liquor
Yeah.
store.
Yeah, I like Oliver's because it's cheaper. Chauncey's or Chauncey's,
Chauncey.
something like that.
Chauncey.
Thank you.
Yeah, Chauncey.
Something like that. It actually comes with the little spice back packet on the side.
Yeah.
If you
Chaucer.
ever get a chance to,
Whatever.
yeah, Chaucer's. There we go.
I had some damn fine water this morning. Bet y'all are jealous.
I actually have a few friends that are beekeepers that make their own even. So.
Oh, nifty.
Sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say that Tess, you know why I bastardized that into Chauncey. All right, as a wrap-up, because we've got 5 minutes, is there anything either one of you would like to say to atheists and theists out there alike? Like any words of wisdom or inspirational?
Look at all sides of an argument. See who tends to lie more.
Oh, I got this one.
The truth will you'll eventually be able to find it. But those that just say, because I said so, tend to be the ones that lie.
Okay. Tess?
Immortal words from the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. Be excellent to each other. I have nothing poignant other than that to say.
I have to agree with you, Tess. All right. So, and then any resources either one of you would recommend for people to go to? Feel free to shamelessly plug yourself here if you like.
I like attention and I like answering questions. But I don't think I have a really good resource for much relevant. I don't know. We listed some good books here, or Poppy did earlier. I don't think I did.
No, last time we mentioned a couple of things. Oh, speaking of that, did you ever get a look up on the Nagamati library?
I
have not yet.
I'm not like too deep into it yet, but yeah. Thank you for mentioning that.
Oh yeah, it's It's interesting. It's been a while since I read it. I can't really remember all of it. That when I read something like that, that not all of it sticks with me. I do real well with audio and stuff, visual representations, but not words on a page as well. More of a conceptualist. That's just the way my personality works. If you get off into personality typing, part of the reason why I like Hitchens, because, in reading his book, it just flows exactly how my mind works and everything. We actually fall under the same personality type, so they, according to the Briggs Stratton personality typing, not Briggs Stratton, what's it? It's Myers-Briggs, sorry. Briggs Stratton's a lawnmower engine. What? Myers-Briggs personality typology, INTJ. Basically, the masterminds. Most movie villains are INTJ type personalities. Both, tend to be autodidactic polymaths.
I think they're just polymaths because everyone's in love with the subject or with the idea that a polymath could exist. I think it's just a convenient character device and a cop out. I'm a cynical butt tonight and most nights. Right. Anyway.
Oh,
Well,
yeah. As you've seen, I actually have a little bit of a grasp on a whole lot of subjects, anyhow. And I constantly try to go through them all again, learn a little bit more. A little bit more.
that's good.
So, but when I was a real believing Christian, I spent all thousands of hours in theology and different translations, interpretations, and all that. Somebody tell me that, I didn't believe, I didn't try hard enough. I go,
No true Scotsman
really?
fallacy.
Really? How hard have you tried? Have you actually bothered trying to read any of the original, in at least, the Greek or any of that? Have you tried looking up any of the words? In the parable of, the needle and the camel's eye, what words did they use for needle? Oh,
Right.
they use two different words depending on the version you use. You got camelos and, no, camelos is it's Bologna and Rafik. They're two totally different type of needles. One's more of a large tapestry style needle, and the other one's much more smaller, closer to the size of what would have been a manageable sewing needle at the time. But they're two totally different needles. And, to even know that they're different in the different interpretations of the, different versions of the telling, was it like Matthew and Mark use two different ones, but Luke uses the same as like Matthew, I think.
Right.
People don't even know that.
Research
Well, we are right at 9:30 actually, so we're right at the ending time.
I don't mind going further if y'all
Well,
want. It don't matter to me.
Well, I'm out.
yeah,
out.
I actually prefer to keep the show right at 2 hours, at the longest, simply so that people don't get burnt out on the show.
Okay.
But I thank you
Don't
very
get
much
them
for
all
coming
the
on, Ben.
ideas out of your head at once.
Thank you very much for coming on, Ben. It's been nice chatting with you. If you would be so kind as to remove yourself from the call simply because I don't want to accidentally ban you.
Ban? You could always unban, right? All right.
I think I'd be able to figure it out, but I don't want to accidentally ban you. So.
All right. No, I'll talk to you later then.
All right, bye.
Bye.
And for those of you still watching, this has been Paleo Bytes, and I wish to thank you for attending and watching the show. If you like this, rate, comment, subscribe, keep the conversation going down in the comments in the crotch bar below. Thank you.